So the internet is abuzz about UFOs, UAPs, however you want to classify it. And of course, why wouldn't they be? The Pentagon is due to release its report on unidentified aerial phenomenons, otherwise known as UFOs. And of course, there are two sides of the argument here. You got the people who are just total skeptics trying to find a reasonable, rational explanation for what we are seeing. And of course, there is the flip side, the hopefuls, the ones who think that we're finally going to have alien life, confirmation of life from other planets visiting us. And they have a lot of hope as far as what the government's report on UAPs will reveal. Now, even with the skeptics out there, some of them are hopeful and do believe that there is a possibility that this is alien life form, but they don't want to come out and say that. Why? Because they have no trust in government. Even if the government recovered an alien spaceship with aliens inside, do you really think that they're going to come out and reveal that to us? They'll probably be able to provide some sort of explanation for these unidentified aerial phenomenons, and if you come out and say, yes, you definitely believe aliens, we're going to get confirmation of aliens, and then the government report comes out, they become the laughing stock of the internet. Oh, you're just another crazy alien conspiracy theorist. So on this episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at both sides here. First I'm going to address the skeptics and some of the flaws in what the skeptics are saying. Of course, I'm going to have to make some assumptions myself, so you can say my pointing out their flaws is a flaw. And then I'm going to go off and take a look at the what if scenario and what the implications, if true, that would mean for us. Okay, so the skeptics are out there trying to come up with information or some explanation for the unidentified aerial phenomenon. They've gone through and said, yes, these are actually U.S. aircrafts that are being tested, experimental next generation aircrafts. Okay. And there is some argument for that as far as why these are occurring in and over restricted airspace. It would make sense. We're testing them out. But if that were true, right? If we were to go off of that were true, and we were to assume the government is being honest with us, that they do not know what these are, do you think the build-up to the release would be what it is? Hey, we got these unidentified aerial phenomenons going on. We don't know what it is. We have the Pentagon investigating it. We're coming out with a report about what it could be. You got everybody, including Obama, which if you're on the left, you may have some trust in Obama, going out there and saying he doesn't know what it is. Trump, if you're a Republican and have faith in Trump, he's going out there and saying he doesn't know what these are. Right? So if you're going off and wanting to believe that these are experimental aircrafts, then based off of the buildup, if you have trust in government, we don't know what these are. We're investigating. They're putting a lot of time and effort trying to figure out what these are, along with the release of the videos confirming these are authentic and we don't know what they are. If they are man-made, they're not man-made by the United States, which then you have to try and figure out then what other country would have the technological capabilities in order to produce aircrafts that are seemingly operating in complete defiance to the laws of physics and aerodynamics as we know it. Now, of course, some people are going, yeah, but this could be unmanned drones. Without a human in the passenger seat, they can pull off maneuvers and speeds that would and could be lethal to humans attempting to try it. Okay, but then again, you have to go back and say, all right, this is not our technology if you have trust in the government. And the way they're building it up and the way they're going through and releasing information, you would assume that if this was experimental aircraft, they would just go, yes, these are experimental aircraft. We don't need to produce a whole lot of report or a whole lot of hubbub. This is next generation aerial technology. Right? So that discounts that it's our technology. What other country would have such technology? I don't know. It could be Chinese technology. And they're testing out the capabilities and the maneuverabilities and trying to see how we would respond. After all, the way business operates in China is that we have to share our proprietary technology and information with them. But if that was the case, that it's being developed from our sharing of proprietary technology, then you would assume that we would have the technology and we would know about these aircrafts being able to pull off these maneuvers. All right, so we go through with that. Russia, not really confident that they would have the technological capabilities, but who knows? So we take a look at it. It's not our technology, and based off of our current information, it is unlikely that this is technology that could be produced by foreign countries, whether that's China, Russia, or otherwise. Maybe we're wrong. And if we are, our intelligence community is severely slacking off and not doing their jobs. All right, so we go through and we take a look at that. Now, another skeptic scenario that has come out here is that, these are just software glitches. You know, that there's a glitch in the software and it's producing images on screen that do not actually exist. Okay, but maybe I want to have a little more faith in our government and assume that if this was a software glitch, that would have been, I don't know, maybe one of the first things that they explored. That maybe they went through and examined the software to try and see if it did have glitches and what those glitches were. You know, maybe I want to think our government has the intellect, at the very least, to have explored the possibility and have investigated the possibility of software glitches and have it turn out that they couldn't find any such glitch in existence. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. It is quite possible. But this is where I build in the assumptions that the government has at least some intelligence to have already explored and investigated the possibility of software glitches. And now we can say, well, shouldn't they have had the intelligence to be able to determine whether or not this was aircraft being produced by our foreign adversaries? Well, that is a different story. That depends on their level of access, how well they're doing their jobs, as far as being able to get assets in there, getting leaked information, spying operations, which you can be completely competent at and still miss a few things. And there's also the whole, if you take a look at the rest of the Chinese technology, this would be one huge leap. If you take a look at Russian technology, or technology, you know, from their military technology, Navy technology, to what they have as far as their current aircraft technology, this would be a pretty huge leap, which is why I kind of doubt that it's technology coming from other countries. And the software glitch, I get it. Software glitches happen, updates, patches, all of that. But I would like to assume that the government going through and investigating this would have already explored the software glitches. And if that was the case, would have come out and said so. In fact, if they were looking to go through and cover this up, one of the first things that you would think that they would want to do is say, yeah, these are just glitches in the sensors. We found an error in the software code. That's all this is. Nothing more to see here. Move along. Right? But then again, we can't discount the possibility that the government was too stupid to check whether or not this was software. Okay, now, another theory that has come out is radar and sensor spoofing technology, where someone has created technology that is able to spoof and create images on radar screens that do not exist. Which is an interesting theory, and hey, that is probably, out of all the skeptical theories, could be one of the most likely theories from the skeptics that have come out. Radar spoofing, producing images, so on and so forth. But then you would have to try and figure out how the spoofing technology works. Where is it located at? How is it that they're able to get close enough to restricted airspace in order for their spoofing technology to actually manufacture and create false images on radar screens and the cameras and the technology that is being used in order to produce these images. All right, what is the range of that? You'd have to try and wonder. And then that would also mean, and the implication would be that, they're able to project it far enough away to stay out of restricted areas, right? Us not being able to find a commonality that, hey, every time this is observed on the radar screens, that this country has some sort of ship or some sort of plane or something being deployed within this particular range. But we can't discount that particular possibility. After all, if you were to go through and take a look at all the different videos, you start recognizing something, which is that, well, all of these ships, crafts, unidentified aerial phenomenons take on different shapes. That is one thing. If this was maybe some type of aliens, you would assume that the ships would, by and large, look very similar and would be manufactured, I guess you would say. Manufactured where they look the same, have all the same features, operated the same, all of that. Now you would assume that, but then again, what if these are ships from multiple alien worlds? Then that rationality for explaining it away, or to talk about alien life forms, would be dismissed if you're wanting to go off and say, hey, these are alien spaceships. Well, they would have to come from multiple different worlds given the different shapes. And to highlight that point, here's the videos that are being released. And notice how each of these unidentified aerial phenomenons have a different shape and kind of maneuver a little differently.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
Says that this video here appearing to show a UFO is in fact real. Well, a U.S. Navy pilot recorded the pyramid-shaped object. Now, it's not clear when or where this was shot. Right now, a government task force is gathering photographs and also videos of UFO encounters. Then that group is releasing a comprehensive report for Congress in June.
Now, when you look at those videos, the whole idea of radar spoofing kind of seems unlikely. I mean, think about this. First off, you would have to have something within range and being able to project. But when you take a look at the projections for as far as radar spoofing or sensor spoofing or however you want to call it, the images move off screen and then the radar itself has to readjust in order to get it back within frame and track it. And the fact that this goes beyond radar spoofing and it looks like it is captured on night vision goggles. Okay, so if it's being captured through night vision goggles and a camera and not radar or sensors, it kind of debunks the idea that this could be some radar spoofing technology. But if it was, that would kind of explain why it is these are in different shapes and moving in different patterns. So I've covered some of the basics over what the skeptics are saying and pointing out some of the flaws in what they are saying and why it just doesn't make sense, because you have to make certain assumptions in order to get to that point of the rational explanation. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the flip side. Ironically, one of the same arguments that I have used to go off against the rational argument can also be used against the alien argument, and that is these ships, or whatever these are different shapes, different sizes, different maneuver abilities. And so you would assume that if it was aliens, that they may produce ships that are very similar in look, if they're all coming here. And then you have to wonder, how many would they send here? Would they send multiple ships here in order to explore, and those multiple ships are just all different designs? That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, some people go, who says it's just one alien life form that is out there? That makes sense too. Oh, yes, one more thing here, just kind of disrupting the flow a little bit, and going back to the other skeptics, which is, in order for them to get here and be here, they would have to have broken the laws of physics. Travel faster than the speed of light. Okay, well, there's a few flaws on that assumption as well. One of the first flaws is assuming that the laws of physics, as we know it, are actually true based off of our limited understanding. We have no idea what technology they could have. For instance, we have the law of gravity. What goes up must come down. And yet we have learned to kind of bend or break the law of gravity as we have satellites and an International Space Station that we sent up that has not come back down because we were able to break Earth's orbit. So you could say that there are ways to bend or get around certain laws of physics that as we understand it. Heck, the idea of flying at one time would seem to have broken the law of physics. So our idea and understanding of what the laws of physics are have changed and adapted as we have gained knowledge and advanced technologically. And we have no idea what their technology would be like if these are aliens. And we have no idea what type of planet they live on. For all we know, their planet has minerals, resources, and sources of energy that we ourselves do not have, that allows for more advanced technology to be developed and to be able to produce propulsion systems or means of travel that we are unable to. I mean, think about this. Even just 300 years ago, the idea of the internal combustion engine seemed far-fetched. The idea that you could use oil and fossil fuels in order to manufacture a fuel that allows vehicles to be able to drive without a horse or move without a horse or some animal pulling it, that would have seemed to have been unthinkable just a couple hundred years ago. So would the idea that we could create these little glass-like panels that could absorb energy irradiating from the sun right here on the Earth's surface in order to produce electricity. Heck, electricity itself would have thought unthinkable not that long ago in human history. So as you can see, as technology develops, you find new ways to harness new sources of energy. What they have available to them that we don't, I don't know. Maybe they do have everything available to them that we do, right? But they may be an older civilization who has had more time to learn and develop technology. I mean, heck, just look at the idea of Star Trek and the warp drive, right? So this whole defy the laws of physics, traveling faster than the speed of light. Okay. But then there is also, how long ago would these have been launched? Maybe they're not going faster than the speed of light, but according to physics, the closer you get to the speed of light, just under the speed of light, time operates differently. We see that there are time distortions on the event horizon of a black hole, that theoretically, as you get closer to the speed of light, time operates much more slowly than it does outside of that, around us, that you could travel at just below the speed of light for maybe 10 years, and hundreds, if not thousands of years may pass outside here on Earth. So, there could be the whole time distortion. Have they learned how to, manipulate that time distortion? So, yes, it could be. Now, who says that these have to be manned crafts? For all we know, these are just unmanned probes, kind of like our drones, right? And so, who knows how long ago they would have been launched. Now, let's face it, if there are alien lives out there, we have become a pretty noisy planet. All the radio signals, satellite signals going through with all the types of broadcasts that we could have easily grabbed the attention. And we could say, well, even at that, it wouldn't have had enough time to travel to some of the other planets that may possibly support life. Okay, but then again, if they have technology like us, where they're trying to take a look at, signs of intelligent life, or other inhabited planets, that it wouldn't have needed to reach all the way to them in order for them to have picked up the signal based off of what they have for receivers. And so it's quite possibly these could have been launched a long time ago, and that they are unmanned probes in order to try and gather more information. Heck, we're sending our own probes out there. So if they were just 1,000 years more advanced, to think about what their probes could be. All right, so again, I'm going on the what if scenario on how this could possibly be the UFOs, since I have gone through and I have talked about the skeptics, what they say, and so forth. And on previous episodes, I have gone through and I have mocked the whole these are alien life forms, but we have to consider the possibilities. So we got that, whether they're unmanned probes designed to collect information on us, or whether or not they're all coming from, different planets. I mean, if they're unmanned probes and they were launched at different times, then you might think that they have gone through and updated their technology, and that the probes, now that they're here, are going through and have been here for a while, continuing to collect data, and then they find something, update their probes, send another probe here, and so we're getting more and more probes, which make them more and more visible. Now, on the skeptic sides, it could be that, hey, these phenomenons are just naturally occurring, and they have always been there outside of, humans' visual perception, and that it's only our sensors and computer technology that is allowing us to see what's always been there that we previously did not see. That's always a possibility as well. So we go through and we take a look at the possibility that it could be aliens, how they could get here. They have energy sources and technologies that we don't even have even the ability to imagine being capable of. Unmanned probes from multiple planets, or just over multiple time frames as they've updated their sensors or probing technology. There is a lot of possibilities here. The possibilities are absolutely endless on both the skeptics and the hopeful side. So now let's actually go through and take a look at the what if. The what if this is true? What if this is alien technology or signs of life from other planets trying to make contact with us? Well, on the first what if side, are they hostile or are they friendly? Just kind of archaeologists, kind of curious about us. Well, the fact that these objects, whether manned or unmanned, have not engaged in any hostile acts, haven't gone through and attacked us or in any way, shape, or form, I would like to assume that they would be friendly, that they're more archaeologically curious. Of course, you have to wonder what they think of us. We can send out our own crafts and get them landed on other planets, but we can't tell the difference between a boy and a girl. So we're probably very confusing to them. So if we were to make the first assumption on the what if these are actual alien technologies, we would have to assume that for the moment, their intent is not hostile. All right. Now, the second thing is, how long have they actually been visiting us? Well, you go through and you take a look at History Channel shows like Ancient Aliens, where they go through and they point out old writings or old descriptions of old battles, especially those claimed to have been between the gods. And if you go off and put in the possibility of alien life forms, and that these gods are just aliens with superior technology that our ancestors couldn't comprehend, and you take a look at the descriptions of the battles that some of them would have had, like multiple alien species having a fight here on Earth, well, that could actually make sense. The ancient gods themselves, the Greek gods, the Norse gods, the Egyptian gods could have all been aliens, ancient astronauts who came and visited this planet. So you go through and you start thinking about how long they could be coming here and observing us, whether they took a direct effect and direct influence in our development, or have just been observing our development. Heck, it could be that what we saw, or what was described as ancient battles between ancient gods, was just a ship that was damaged. Maybe it was hit by a meteor as it had, flying through our atmosphere, and just crash landed. And then over the centuries, it has decomposed or has become buried, and we just haven't rediscovered it yet, or was so completely annihilated that, well, even if we do find those type of metals that are not really to Earth, we just think we discovered a new type of metal, a new type of mineral. So there is that, how long they have been going through. And if they have been observing us for that long, then we would assume that the fact that they're not here enslaving us, or the fact that we're still here, would go along with that assumption that they are not hostile. All right, so we go through and we take a look at how long they may have been visiting Earth. But then we also got to take a look and re-examine the context of Roswell, New Mexico, back in the 1940s in Area 51. And it's interesting how after the incident at Roswell, if you were to go through and take a look at the United States, the amazing leaps and bounds we have made technologically. With computers, with our electronic devices, global communications, television broadcasts, the idea of the possibility of holographic images, the space race, and being able to get a man on the moon, as long as you believe that was legitimate, and our ability to now send things to other planets and space probes. Was all of that possibly the result of reverse engineering a crashed alien spaceship? And then what would that mean? What would that mean for the trust in government? To have covered up that type of event. And maybe if the government wasn't what actually covered it up, maybe some private industry was able to get their hands on crashed ships before the government arrived. That maybe our private business and industry were the ones that were reverse engineering the technology. You really start going off and reinterpreting the entirety of human history if these turn out to be alien spaceships, and as well as American history, and taking a look at from 1776 to 1940, the rate of change and technological development before Roswell and after Roswell, and it kind of goes off and gets you thinking, doesn't it? And, if we have actually made contact with alien life forms, for all we know, they recovered survivors. The survivors were alive, and maybe they were interrogated or whatever, and, in order to explain how the technology works. But there is also other explanations as well. As far as what the aliens could be. Are they completely different life forms from us? Are they completely, alien? Or is the theory that Earth itself is like Australia, where humans did not evolve naturally on Earth, but rather the Earth was used as a penal colony, and that information has been lost over time because we were just dropped on a planet with absolutely no technology, nothing, and because of that, some of the information that we once had was completely lost and, untaught for a long time, and then, basically kind of de-evolved what we knew, and now we're re-evolving. And are these, actually our cousins, that dropped off the ancestors onto this penal colony, and now checking on our development. At first, it was, these are criminals, they have a life sentence, and they go, oh, well, the generations have gone by, now we got people who didn't do anything. Should we check on them? Oh, they're not evolved. They've actually gone backwards in their knowledge and understanding, and now they're taking a look at our evolution going, oh, they're starting to evolve again. And so should we reveal ourselves to them, at what stage? So there's always the possibility that they're not actually aliens, but rather from where we come from, and that the Earth is just a penal colony, or was used as a penal colony so many thousands of years ago. Maybe they just simply forgot about us after they dropped us off, and now they're coming back and re-exploring us to see if and when we're ready to rejoin them. That's always a possibility as well. No one said they had to be completely evolutionary aliens. So you go off and you kind of think about that and what the implications of that could be. Right? It sure would explain why there's a missing link in evolution between us and our closest animal relative here. The great apes or the monkeys or, whatever, where we have that missing link. But then, I guess if you go off and really think about it, if we were transplanted here as part of a penal colony, then all the things that we have in common wouldn't make a whole lot of sense either. So again, no matter where you go with this, right, the rational explanation to the what ifs, there's always something that seems to explain it but also seems to debunk it. Right? So you go off and you think about that for quite a bit. And it is interesting, and the implications between how they have, according to ancient aliens, influenced our evolution, or may have helped, hasten our evolution. If they have been visiting this planet for quite some time, as ancient aliens suggest, that maybe the reason there's a missing link is because of the genetic experiment conducted by alien life forms. That's always a possibility. The possibilities are absolutely endless. And I'm not saying what it is I actually believe or disbelieve in this video. I'm just going off and letting the imagination roam and how that could go off and change our understanding. And you got to be open to the idea of alien life forms, whether that is completely alien or the penal colony theory and all that, because through imagination, we may discover a new understanding of the universe, of our own evolutionary history. And so it is great that we are being able to have this conversation, and I'm awaiting with anticipation. I will say, a bit on the skeptical side. I'm not completely skeptical of the possibilities, and I am skeptical about the honesty of the government. But there is one more possibility that is not being talked about a lot. Some people have brought it up, and I've kind of joked about it myself. But there is another explanation outside of, technology from our adversaries, or sensor ghosts, or whatever, and an explanation outside of aliens, and that is time travelers. And you could think that time travelers from different periods in Earth's future might develop their crafts differently. Those who are further in the future would probably develop more sophisticated time traveling ships. And if we think about this, this is not outside the realm of possibilities as well, especially if you're talking about alien spaceships, because we know that time distortions can happen, the event horizon of a black hole. And, how we are visually seeing stars as we look above that actually do not exist, that have already gone supernova. We're just perceiving it now. And so we also have the theory that as you get closer and closer to the speed of light, time distortion happens, where time operates differently inside of a ship traveling just below the speed of light than what it is those of us who are not traveling so fast. So if someone could break through and travel faster than the speed of light, or create some sort of artificial wormhole that has time traveling capabilities, or who knows what all the possibilities are. Science fiction shows have given us endless possibilities on how time traveling may be possible, and things that we thought were science fiction, we are now developing as real world technology. So this could be a situation where archaeologists from the future are coming back and, manned or unmanned, sending back ships through time in order to study history. Because maybe they figured out that history books are filled with lies, missing context, which is not, outside of the realm of possibilities, considering how the left is already rewriting history. And think about how much different our history books would read if we ourselves had the ability to travel backwards through time and be able to observe this. And some of the things that we have seen, we could see where, time travel could be abused, where people would go back through, and even though they are humans just from the future that having superior technology, they could be confused for the ancient pagan gods. So time travel, this doesn't actually have to be alien in origin. It could just simply be time traveling. And you're going, well, but we're hearing that these are exotic materials, not made of this earth. So, in the future, we may actually have developed the capability for spaceships ourselves, that maybe we found a way in the future to be able to travel faster than the speed of light. Something that, depending on how far we go into the future, the probes that we have sent out into space discover a new material that makes that possible. And then, we sent out some sort of exploration to go and gather some of that material, and that led to our ability to create spaceships to go out there and start mining it, and through that discover the ability to travel through time. But then you have to wonder, well, if our descendants are engaged in time travel, are they not really all that bright? And how aware are they of the dangers of time travel and altering history and creating paradoxes? And, I guess there's also the theory of the multiverse. Hey, these are humans. They are humans not from the future, but from a parallel galaxy. And all they did was develop the capabilities of being able to travel from their universe to our parallel universe through some type of wormhole. Again, the possibilities are endless. And then what would that mean, about our understanding of the universe if there was actually a multiverse? Parallel universes out there. What would that mean for time traveling? And then you go through and you think about the idea of time traveling. Well, if Roswell was not an alien ship, but rather it was a crash-landed time ship, and then we reversed engineered the technology to what we got today. Well, think about the time loop that creates. That it was future technology crash landing in our past, being backwards engineered to develop the technology that eventually led to the ability to create time ships. The paradox, the time loop, and when you get to thinking about that is confusing. What happened first? How did the first loop actually happen? This is fun to talk about, and the what if scenarios, letting the imagination roam. And all the way over, a lot of times the discussion is, this is technology, next generation technology, to glitches in the systems, producing images that are not there, to spoofing technology, to aliens. But the idea of time travel is not discussed as much. Of course, the whole Earth started as a penal colony. That has been discussed somewhat, through over the years. But the time travel, or maybe even just people from a parallel universe, and that the multiverse is something that really exists. Those are other possibilities that are not being discussed here. You know, and in either situation, time travel or from a parallel reality in the multiverse, would still signal that they have more advanced technology than us. And if you look at Roswell, how much of that has influenced our development. So you see, there is a lot of ways in which you can go about this. And that is the great thing about the unknown, about keeping these things as identified as unidentified, is that we don't know what we don't know. And as long as these remain unidentified, with absolutely no provable explanation, the imagination is going to roam over the possibilities of what it could be, or, you know, both on the hopeful and the skeptical side. You know, and when it all comes down to it, when it all ends, and we get our report, I think people are going to be looking for confirmation bias here. They're either going to come away from the report saying with the, see, I told you so. You know, there is a rational explanation or a rational theory as to what these could be, all the way to it's a conspiracy theory. It's covering up. They had to produce something, but they don't want to tell us exactly what it is. And so you're either going to come away thinking it's a continuation of the cover-up of Roswell, or you're going to come away with it thinking that a rational explanation has been provided. If, on the flip side, they come out and say, yes, we think these are extraterrestrial in origins, you're going to have the group of people, confirmation bias, saying, see, I told you so. While the skeptics are going to come out and say, man, the people in charge of our government are just wackos. Of course, under the Biden administration, that is proving to be true. But besides that, no matter how this report comes out, what people come away with and what they believe in is probably going to be based off of more of what they hope, their aspirations about the possibilities, or their skepticism about what we don't know. You know, if we don't know it's possible, then it's not possible. Line. So I don't really think that the Pentagon report is going to go off and provide us any real definitive clear answer. And we can go through both sides of the debate. What do I think? Now this gets down to it. What do I think? Well, if the report comes away with, we still don't know what these are, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put my bet on time travel. Now, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and throw my bet on time travel. I'm going to take the bet that nobody else is going for. So I'm going to bet time travelers. Now, we're not actually going to figure that out. Okay, so I'm going to say time travelers. If it has to be extraterrestrial life, things not from this planet and not from the future and not from the multiverse, I'm going to go with Earth as a penal colony theory is how I'm going to go about this, which would make sense because if they are here and, want to be able to really explore from an archaeological standpoint how we've developed, the fact that we're so related to each other, being that Earth was a penal colony, would make it very easy for them to be able to blend in. Would also make it easy for them to hide out and become our entrepreneurs, our technological innovators. So yes, I'm going to go on and say time travelers instead of aliens. All right, as long as that is a possibility. If I have to fall in between, aliens or human technology, I'm going to take the Matt Walsh approach and be the one to side with the minority view and go aliens. There's always the possibility of aliens. All right, so that is, what I wanted to come on here and say and be able to go through and explore the what ifs. I'm sure, in reality, there is some reasonable, rational explanation that has nothing to do with extraterrestrials, nothing to do with time travel, nothing to do with multiverse. All right, I want to make sure I make this clear because the leftists will probably at some point come back to this video and use it to say, oh, see, he's just a nut and a crackpot, as I go through. But I'm sure there is some reasonable, rational explanation for it. But until they are able to identify what that is and let us know, then I'm going to go on with the slightest bit of hope that this is contact, either from another world, another universe, or another time period. I'm going to keep that hope alive until they can provide us with, we know what these are. All right, so thank you so much for listening in or watching. If you're watching on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, go ahead, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave me some comments, let me know what you think. I'll probably also take the audio from this and put it into the audio podcast version of the show. Again, leave me ratings and reviews there. Subscribe. Let me know what you think. Are you on the skeptics or the hopeful side? And if you're on the hopeful side, what do you think? Life from another planet, from another time period, or from another universe within the multiverse? Let's go ahead and take this opportunity to fully and freely discuss the range, because right now, as long as they're saying these are defying the laws of physics and anything we have the capability of doing, and we don't know what they are, everything's open for discussion. So take that freedom and discuss with your wildest imaginations roaming. All right, thank you so much, and I will be back again soon.